after some technical... Oop, let me get the audio here. And we are back again after some technical difficulties with getting things set up, because we actually haven't done a Freer Talk Live, as we like to call it, for probably well over a year, just because we're all, busy. And
it has been a long fucking time since we've done one.
There's been no reason for it.
Oh my God, for a second I was like, dump.
I
forgot.
Yeah, you can say that on Freer Talk Live. There's been no reason to do it. Well, we're just going to pick right back up where we left off, but I do want to say thank you to Dash. That I got so distracted with this interview, we didn't even talk about Dash during the show, which
it's been energetic. And what's the adjective form of lightning? That's the word I'm looking for. That's the type of show.
Electrifying.
Yes, thank you.
So Dash, by the way, is digital cash, and Free Talk Live is brought to you by Dash. It is a cryptocurrency designed to be used for spending. As you know, the fees for Bitcoin are basically makes it impossible to spend. You can't go to Porcfest and seriously spend Bitcoin. A lot of people will accept cryptocurrency at the Porcupine Freedom Festival, but if you want to actually not pay $1 or $2 fee on top of the thing you're already buying, right now that's your typical Bitcoin fee, then you really ought to be talking to people about spending Dash, because Dash has a less than 1 cent fee, like way less in a lot of cases than 1 cent fee per transaction. Dash is really designed to be used in the marketplace. So it's one of the most commonly accepted, I think, at the Porcupine Freedom Festival, at least in my recollection. It's been some time since, unfortunately, I've been at the event for a significant period of time, and the federal government is going to prevent me from staying overnight there this year as well. But you can still go, and you can still use Dash. In fact, Dash has been a major sponsor of the Porcupine Freedom Festival. I think that might have been before your time, Dennis. I'm not sure about that.
Oh, no. I remember that.
Yeah, big time. They were the Porcfest major, I believe, top sponsor at least 1 year, maybe more than that. But
wasn't it at one point the Dash Pavilion or something?
That's correct. Yeah, they own that pavilion, the sponsorship down there. So Dash has been behind the Liberty movement for a very, very long time, and from a technical standpoint, they're great. Their transactions are irreversible, and the network is protected from 51% attacks by their chain locks technology. You don't have to wait for a confirmation before considering a Dash transaction complete, so it's great for merchants, and it's one of the oldest cryptocurrencies. It's widely available on exchanges and in multi-crypto wallets. It's easy to get, and it's easy to use Dash. You can start by learning more at dash.org. And big thanks to the Dash DAO for sending us 32 Dash per month to promote Dash on the air. You can visit dash.org to learn about Dash. That is dash.org. We had Liberty Phoenix on the line with us here from the Chicago area, and you were driving at a point before we had to end the radio show about Porcfest. And if you could recap that, Phoenix, I'd appreciate it. Phoenix, are you with us still?
He might have not understood we were actually continuing.
Well, his call was still there. Stand by one moment here. Let me see if we've got this caller on. Paul, are you there?
I'm still here.
All right, we have you. Excellent, sir. You are on with
to Ernie Hancock, but
yeah, it can be a little confusing in the after show because our hold music is not our live show. It's whatever's on LRN at the moment. So yeah, you were listening to Ernie.
Nice.
But glad you held on. We still have Dennis here, so your comments or your question or whatever you wanted to say, Dennis Pratt is still with us here from Porcfest.
Okay, so I'm on now?
You are on, sir, yes. Okay,
well, hey, Dennis, I just want to give you kudos for all the hard work you do putting that thing together. I know it's a hell of a lot of work, and it's a job that you can't get everything right. You please one person, you piss somebody else off. So I totally get that. As far as I used to do videos of this thing. I think I was the first one that started doing real professional quality videos of the Porcfest and Liberty Forum.
That's right. Yeah,
turn that job over to other people now. So, but it's nice to know that things are going strong. So, I just want to say about this whole Maj Toure thing. I met Maj here in Phoenix. He came and talked to a group here, and I like the guy, but he's obviously got some blind spots, as far as Liberty goes. And I'm hoping that he was really just remarking about, putting children in jeopardy by exposing them to inappropriate sexual material rather than just somebody in a dress. Okay. That's all I'm going to say about that. But anyway,
Wait, okay, could you rewind that? Did you say he's obviously? I'm sorry, I was asking if you needed your call needed to be turned up, or if it was just me. So I kind of got a little distracted at the end there. Did you say that Maj Toure was obviously talking about people exposing children to inappropriate sexual material, not just somebody in a dress?
I'm hoping that that's what his ire was being directed at.
Oh, you're hoping. Okay.
Because, obviously nobody wants to tolerate, children being exposed to inappropriate sexual material.
But what if the parents were just like, yeah, I don't mind. Bonnie, you can give a sex ed talk, and my kid's 5 years old, and I agree to that. Should Maj Toure be allowed to attack me?
No, at that point, if the parents, if the parents are cool with it, then nobody else should be able to have anything to say about it.
I'd agree with that. There are definitely some people who don't agree with that, and I think it's crazy. I was.
Unless it can be shown that the parents themselves are being irresponsible, but now that's all gets to a whole nother conversation, right?
I don't know who determines that. What if somebody wanted to determine that? I'm just going to give an example. Say you chose not to vaccinate your kids for the COVID-19 thing. What if someone wanted to determine that you were being irresponsible because of that and wanted to take your kids away? Would that be okay?
Well, Bonnie, it's like Hillary Clinton said. It takes a village.
Well, there really were people in the libertarian movement who lost their minds during COVID. I'm sure Dennis remembers some of these people who were claiming that by not getting a vaccine, or actually by not even that, by not wearing a mask, you were quote unquote a manslaughterer, and that this particular individual said that would be justification. This is the bad Dennis, the Dennis with one N.
Evil Dennis.
Yeah. This one said that if you were to not wear a mask in his vicinity, that he would consider that an attempted manslaughter, and he would have the right to shoot you on sight.
Well, even more recently, when I brought up the thing about a sex ed thing with parent permission, some perfectly great libertarians were arguing that it wouldn't be okay because, studies show that sex ed actually causes more teen pregnancies, so it shouldn't be allowed. I mean, that's kind of ridiculous. If the parents said it's okay, I should be able to show them pictures of people having sex. I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do that. It's just the point. Even if Maj Toure said, oh, well, what I really meant was only if someone is reading sexually explicit material to kids. Well,
I said
it's still not justified.
Harlequin romance novels.
Yeah, it's still not justified if the parents agree. I can think it's as weird as heck. If I had kids, I would not give them a sex ed talk at 5. I just think it's unnecessary more than anything. They'd be a lot older before I just started talking about sex with them. But there are some parents that don't care at all. When I was in 3rd grade, my friends' parents would talk about sex openly around them, and I thought it was so crazy because my parents were not that way. Anyways,
you were 9 years old then. That's you're getting close to the time when it might be appropriate. So
one of the issues I think is that people conservatives in particular, they have this understanding of children as like these blank slates that are not straight or Christian or conservative or liberal or anything. They're just empty slates that society and their parents and stuff pour characteristics into, as though these children have no inclinations or characteristics of their own until someone in society, television or the media or Hollywood or the evil trannies out there grooming everyone, tells them who they are, and
then that's
fundamentally not true. A person's characteristics, their identity, who they are, is not so malleable that being exposed to a drag queen is going to change anyone's characteristics, and it's a complete denial of the cis heteronormativity that exists throughout the United States, throughout the Western. I can't count the number of times I've seen some adult look at some 4 or 5-year-old kid and say, "Oh, he's such a cute boy. He's going to be such a ladies' man." That by these conservatives' argument, that's grooming. They are preparing that child for a cisgender straight relationship, and it's so pervasive, it's so common that they don't even recognize that they're doing it. It's like Christians arguing that, "Oh no, Christianity hasn't taken over the United States. Christianity isn't everywhere." It's like, no,
we're prosecuted.
You're a part of it, so you don't see it. You're the ones literally out there perpetuating it, so you don't see it. The people who are out there perpetuating the cis heteronormative lifestyle, they don't see it. But everything that runs counter to that poses a threat to them because they recognize that gets in the way of them shoving what they want onto people.
Yeah, well, I agree with you there because I mean, if children were really that malleable, there would never be any gay people
My whole
because
point is
Excellent
the
point.
hetero culture would be so imbued into them but yet gay people exist. So therefore, obviously, they're not quite as blank slate.
And
as
almost
people
all of them
like to
I've ever
think.
talked to said they were born that way, that it wasn't something,
Yeah.
that it was a learned behavior. Dennis has been
Yeah.
kind of just absorbing this. Any thoughts on the conversation, Dennis?
I mean, you know, it's tough because, I can talk about me personally, or I can talk about me as running Porcfest. So me running Porcfest, I have to deal with all these different segments, and it. Even when I disagree with their takes on things, somehow I have to work with them within this big tent. It's very hard. Very hard.
That's
to
why I say I
actually
wouldn't
work.
wish it on anyone.
Especially given that they want Bonnie and Arya out. There's other groups who want Ian out. Bonnie wants these person out. Arya wants these other people, and I'm going, oh my god.
But the only one I want out is the
can't
person
we
who
take
threatened
it-
violence.
that was
Can't
the
we
whole
take-
point of this. My point wasn't do we all agree that we like gayness more? No, it's not that. Let's get to the bottom of this. Was it violence threatened or not? And I think I've made a great point tonight that it is. I think I completely changed Phoenix's mind. At first he was saying, well, if they're sexually explicit, and then he understood that no, Maj Tour shouldn't be able to kill somebody for that if the parents have allowed it. I mean, should Maj Tour, if his opinion was that it's inappropriate for kids to not be vaccinated, then he should be able to assault someone, then should he be invited to Porcfest? I mean, that's something that could just as easily come out of someone's mouth.
Yeah, where do you draw the line?
Yep. Yeah, and that's a really difficult issue. I mean, when I was working on writing about libertarianism, I wrote. I think I mentioned I wrote over almost 2,000 essays. I didn't touch the kids thing because it was so hard. It's such a hard area. There's so many people that so disagree. People disagree so intensely. And rational thought, and I think it's really hard because how do you actually frame it? Now, I actually have some ideas about it, but those are personal ideas. I mean, I don't like it when the wood chipper thing comes out and they go, the wood chipper goes burr and all this type of stuff, and they're talking about this guy, but it's unclear what they mean about this guy, and I get really uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I have to have a very clear discussion. What the hell are you talking about? Walk me through this here.
Yeah, they don't even know what they're saying half the time. They just love throwing around,
Yeah,
wood chipper, groomer, just people
But
that
there
don't
are
like.
people out
Exactly
there, a lot
right.
of people that follow Maj, and perhaps, I don't know, but perhaps Maj himself, I don't know what he believes, but there are these people out there who think that I should be put in the wood chipper just because I'm trans, because in their
They
heads,
think all trans people are child
group-
molesters.
yes,
Yeah.
in their heads, they've
That's right.
formed all of these false connections. And it's like, it's not just a matter of where I guess it is a matter of where you draw the line, but I feel like the significance, the importance of drawing that line isn't being recognized.
Well, no, that's not true. So in the case of Maj, okay, also in the case of Bonnie, okay, but I know Bonnie well enough to know that she wasn't meaning the way that everyone went nuts about.
Bonnie didn't
Okay.
threaten violence.
I didn't
though.
even say anything that if I meant
that is
any
not what they
different
heard,
way. What I said
right?
was that plenty of people are planning kid-friendly drag shows on our spots. There's nothing there that says violence. There's nothing there that says inappropriate. It was obviously a troll. It was a lie. That it doesn't mean that I should be banned from Porcfest no matter how you look at it. There's no way to look at that and say Bonnie should be banned from Porcfest. There's only one way to look at Maj Tour's
Bonnie-
tweet, and it's he should be banned from Porcfest.
Bonnie, how can you say that?
What do you
when
mean, how
am
can I say that?
inundated? Let me finish. what I'm
Because
gonna
too
say
many
here.
people want to do a thing that, because more, even if 99 people came to you and said that they want you to ban me from Porcfest, it doesn't change anything about the fact that I didn't say anything that violates the non-aggression principle and that Maj Toure absolutely unequivocally did.
Well, he banned
Maj
Mikey
Toure-
over a hunch.
Maj Toure, I guess I already went through this.
Explain to me why it's the same thing.
I had to talk to him. Well, you're saying there's no way. Obviously, there's a way because a lot of people are clamoring for you to be banned from Porcfest. Now, does that mean that I believe it? No, I don't believe it.
It doesn't
Okay?
matter what you
Now,
believe.
No, because I have to make the decision. I have to make the decision whether you in fact threaten children.
You don't have to
Right?
make that decision, though. You don't. You do that because
You
you
read the
centralize
words.
it and you're in charge of it rather than decentralizing. If you decentralize it, you wouldn't have to make that decision.
I think you just read
Okay,
the words
so
and you
you-
can
so-
see what I said.
Well, and
No,
he did see what you said, and it wasn't a threat to children.
Then explain to me why it's this exact, even equivalent, what I said and what Maj Toure said. You keep acting like it's the
I
same
think what
thing.
he said
just because
I feel
people
like
are
we
trying to say.
rehashing here, and I think what Dennis said before.
No, he never explained what I'm asking right now.
Okay, what he explained before was that Maj said certain things privately to him that made him think that there was some nuance to what he said that wasn't expressed on Twitter.
Okay, but nothing I said ever needed to be nuanced. There's no question about what I said.
I am reacting to your saying there's no way that and it's just not true because many people took your comments to mean that you wanted to do violence against children.
Well,
Now, is that reasonable?
no,
Right?
it's
You can
not.
say, you can say, look, it's unreasonable. They ought to think this. They ought to think that. The truth is that they did think that.
It was unambiguous,
So-
and it doesn't matter if a bunch of idiots think
But
something.
it's not unambiguous if that's what they're reading.
If a bunch of
I don't
people
understand.
have been brainwashed by the rights because they're just conservatives
I
that have said this to
understand
you
that.
to believe something that makes no sense, and then something I say doesn't have anything to do with violence, and they think it. It doesn't matter if 1 million people think something. It doesn't matter.
And he's saying that he's on your side with this.
He's saying that it's the same exact thing as Maj Toure.
He's still drawing a
Absolutely.
false equivalence between someone saying something that someone out there considers to be a threat of violence and an actual direct threat of violence. Right?
He keeps saying
But
like this is why.
He didn't make a specific direct threat of violence.
No, but
That
he
would
said
be
I'm gonna pull
something
up and assault people. And our point here, my point here, and I think Bonnie's point
He
here is
was
that that's
posturing, and
I
you know
know.
it. You
He was
said it.
threatening
Dennis,
violence.
let me explain the point that Bonnie and I are trying to make. The point that our issue is that threatening violence and saying I'm gonna assault someone is very, very different from saying I'm going to have a drag queen story hour. Even if people out there think that drag queen story hour it can be interpreted as violence, that's immaterial. The two statements are qualitatively different. And to act like they're both threats of assault is disingenuous. You
I
know
agree.
that's disingenuous.
No, Bonnie, I thought that was a brilliant response to this whole thing. You know about you better not have any drag queen story hours, and you said, well, yeah, well, gee, maybe you shouldn't show up because we're gonna have a whole shitload of them. Right? I thought that was a brilliant response, Bonnie. I thought that was awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I was proud to watch all of that play out from this. I was like, I'm going to pop over to Twitter. And I was like, here's Ian and Bonnie just going. Oh,
I don't
I'm so
think
proud.
that you
But
guys
why
are going
bring
to.
Porcfest into it? That's what I don't understand. Why are you bringing Porcfest into it, and why are you getting me involved?
Because he's
Put
invited.
Dennis, okay. He gets it in the neck. I'm
Yeah,
sorry, Dennis.
I do feel bad that Dennis is in this position.
Why? That Dennis volunteered.
Yeah,
he
I
said it a million
understand.
times. He's
Yeah.
volunteering.
I don't wish this on anybody, and I don't think that you guys are going to persuade him. So I think y'all have had your say. And Dennis, if there's anything else you want to say, I feel like you've responded. But if you don't feel like you've had a chance, feel free to continue here. I think the sides have spoken, and I don't think that the sides are going to. You know what I mean?
Well, I have to make a determination. Ari says, well, you're making, yeah, I have to make a determination. Is there an actual NAP violation? So I have to actually go through that process. I don't have to go through it with Bonnie because I understand better what she means. Maj is not in my set. He is not in my segment. I have to actually talk to him. And I suggest, Bonnie, that you stop You say, okay, maybe I don't understand this man. Let me go and find out what it is that he means. And then when you actually find that out, then you can make a determination. But I think that Twitter is terrible to jump to the conclusions that you're making.
I didn't jump to any conclusion. I can read.
Well,
That's all I did.
We did try to approach him, and he refused to have any kind of
And plus,
conversation about it.
he wrote me back when I said nap violation, and I, for the record, never reported him to Twitter. Never thought he committed a nap violation by speaking words, aka by saying what he said on Twitter. I said it would be a nap violation if he assaulted someone for throwing a drag queen story hour.
That's a good point.
And I've never made that claim that he did, in fact, not violate the nap. It's that it would be a nap violation if he assaulted someone, even if they were showing sexually explicit material to kids, unless it was or with the parents' permission and everything. Obviously, not if he was just like bringing kids into a closet and doing it, or somebody was. I don't know why I said he, but
Well, a legitimate threat would be a non-aggression, that would be a violation of the non-aggression principle to actually have a believable threat. Whether this was a believable threat or not, I think is up for debate. Paul, did you have anything else to share tonight? Because I got one more call on the line.
I didn't want to say something.
Go for it. Yeah, I've said my piece.
Thanks for the call. I appreciate it. Go ahead, Ari.
Paul, thanks for your volunteering in the past.
I mean, for my side, I don't even want to see Maj banned. I want to see Maj banned to exactly the same extent that he wants to attack me for being trans, right? Which is to say that when I say, I don't think I've ever even actually said ban the guy from Porcfest. If I did, that would just be similar posturing, right? What I'm more interested in is exposing these conservatives, these people with conservative social norms that want to come in and influence libertarians and push them in a way that, poses a threat to the lifestyle of me and people like me. I want to expose that. And when libertarians go out there making excuses for these scumbags who threaten violence, scumbags like Vivek, who want to make war with Mexico, saying, oh, hear them out. Or when they threaten violence against drag queens, saying, oh, hear them out. When people make excuses for that, when libertarians make excuses for that, that's the problem. Because they're preventing us from calling attention. I don't want you to ban him. I want you to raise awareness of this and be like, people, don't go listen to this guy. He's not worth listening to. He wants to do violence to people. Even if he's not going to actually do violence to people, he clearly thinks that violence is a mechanism for solving problems. And that's fundamentally opposed to what we stand for. So if you stand for the NAP, have this guy at Porcfest. Don't ban him. It would be a much stronger statement to have him at Porcfest and then no one go see him because everyone rejects the initiation of force in order to solve problems.
Yeah, but you know that people are going to go see him. I mean, that's just how it is.
Well, because plenty of conservatives
is,
are getting like a big flag waved to them, like, "Hey, come to Porcfest. It's good for it's like basically a conservative fest now because we have RFK. He's a conservative in some ways and Democrats in some ways. He's a really confusing man. And we have Vivek Ramaswamy. We have what was that man from the other
Larry Elder.
Elder.
Look, I think the biggest concern about people like Maj and these other characters being on stage, and this is a rehash to some extent, but just to make the point, here for our after show listeners, is that it's going to draw those people, the wood chipper types or the let's bomb Mexico types or whatever. And maybe the argument could be that some of those people could possibly be persuaded, but I don't know if those are the kinds of people that we want at our party. And I just... space is limited. Let's keep it to the libertarians. That's just kind of my opinion on this.
Well, Ian, my suggestion is then, and of course you won't have this because whoever does it next year will have to make decisions they make, in the way that they do it. But in my way, what you would do is you come and bring your people. I mean, this is the point that I made against the Second Amendment, right? The Second Amendment people. There were two people who tried to bring Cody Wilson. Now, are people going to be object to Cody Wilson? Yeah, because I think he got framed for this underage thing, and and it effectively shut him up. But if he came, would I? Yeah, people are going to flock down to him and listen to him. Did they succeed? No, they didn't succeed. Okay. They brought me RFK. Now, if you bring me somebody who's really exciting, why is the Second Amendment whining at me? Why didn't they bring? They could have brought me a whole bunch of people who were Second Amendment stalwarts and real stars, and and I'm fine with putting them up on stage. But if you don't bring me anyone, you can't whine about it.
Well, we certainly are
That's a
bringing.
good sentiment, Dennis.
We certainly are bringing as many people as possible. I mean, we've definitely been promoting Porcfest all year long since last year.
I'm not talking about attendees. I'm talking
about
speakers.
Speakers
that attendees want to hear.
No,
right?
and it's a valid point as well.
You're saying I'm sorry?
She said it's a valid point.
Yeah, I mean, if these people don't like RFK's, no gun zone, okay, well then invite a pro-gun speaker. Oh, 90% of the speakers there are pro-gun people.
What
right?
happened with Cody Wilson?
I made promises to Cody Wilson. I said, look, you come and I'm going to give you 2 slots.
What happened to him?
Because he would be somebody. Well, there's actually a Cody Wilson documentary that's going to be done instead. But I'm going, darn,
Did he pass on the offer or something?
On I think Wednesday night there's a premiere of a Cody Wilson documentary,
but he's not going to be there. He's not
going to be there, and that was one of the people who I want people who are interesting, that people get really excited about. That's what I want.
What happened? I mean, can you say, or is that just like behind the scenes stuff?
Well, it's 5 people tried to get RFK.
Mm-hmm.
1 person came through. What happened with the other 4? I mean, negotiations fall apart all the time.
Mm-hmm.
All the time.
He's been at the events, though. I mean, he was at Liberty Forum years ago, so it's not like he's never been.
He's been at Porcfest. I thought he was at Porcfest.
She probably was too.
Remember him at Porcfest.
It wouldn't surprise me if he was. I mean, there's been how many hundreds of speakers.
It wasn't until after he got into his jam. Now, if he came, I would put him on Porcfest. Would I be on some sort of one of these other podcasts and go, how can you have a pedophile at Porcfest? You know what I would tell them? They would say, does that reflect Porcfest values and Free State Project values? I say, no, that reflects the desires of a segment, Bonnie, not of the movement, of a segment within the movement. I do not think of a monolith. That I am a marketer. I think of segments. I think of this as broken down. I think of individuals making individual choices. So if
you and I think of that, but I do think we just have to be realistic and realize, like, someone who's like, I just found out what libertarianism is. Let me Google this. They find the Free State Project. They go and find the LPNH Twitter talking about, like, it's the exact same thing to have a pride flag on the wall of a school as it is to have, women in full-on burqas and the caliph or whatever. It's the exact same thing.
I put my foot down.
The messaging is important.
My foot down, and I fought for Ian. I fought for getting the nudes back in. I fought for S&M. I fought for sex worker panel. I have fought over and over and over again for various groups because there was a segment that was interested in them. And then there's another segment, which may be larger, may be smaller. I don't give a damn.
And okay? I appreciate that.
You can't have them. Oh my God! This reflects badly on libertarianism. Do you want people to go up and look at libertarianism and think that this is what we have? No. This is not going to bring back families. I hear it all the time.
But it's just not as justified to say, "Oh, Ian said a thing, so it's going to make us look bad," as it is justified to say this person actually threatened violence. Or is a actual federal candidate to a position of power. And I don't think that the Free State Project, I think that's like completely counter to what we believe in. It's totally different than Ian saying, I don't know, maybe some 15-year-olds can consent.
I appreciate you fighting to keep these things, at Porcfest, to keep the sex workers.
I appreciate that. Not to keep them, to bring them. The thing was that they were not allowed at Porcfest.
Okay, yeah, good job.
And I fought,
but that's not my point.
Neck on the line on every single one of them.
But none of that's my point. We shouldn't be defending these things that these more conservative types find distasteful. That's not our job. That's not our prerogative. We should be telling them, well, then don't come. Not making excuses. Okay, well, if you don't like it, don't come.
Like, what is a libertarian at the point that conservatives can just say, I don't like that Bonnie said she's going to have a drag queen story hour on her event, and she specifically said it would be kid-friendly. I don't like that. Ban her, and then you do it. I'm not saying that you would. You obviously said you wouldn't. I'm just saying, like, we have to find out what the Free State Project is going to represent. And the Free State Project owns Porcfest, and I mean, we're all, whether we like it or not, represented by it. And it's not, it's not in fact, it's de facto. It's not.
You realize that not banning you does not mean that somehow the Free State Project supports drag queen story hours. The Free State Project is totally doesn't. It is not a position on drag queen story hour. It's not a position on nudism. It's not a position on any of this stuff. There are different segments.
I didn't
We
mean
know that,
the
but that's
org.
not how the masses perceive
And
it,
I
and you
didn't
know that.
mean the org writes down that they
help stupid.
support something or not. Well, I can't help the stupid people that want me banned for no reason and don't understand what violence means and can't read Maj Tour's message and see that it literally threatens violence.
I want to go to Henza. He's been waiting very patiently here, guys. Henza, can you bring something new to this discussion? Go ahead.
Yeah, guys, I help out with Anarcho-Poco every year, and Dennis, you are in a really, really difficult position. I can't tell you how much I appreciate what you're doing, and it's gotten to the point for Anarcho-Poco where we've actually, the organizer of it is almost completely inaccessible to anybody because these discussions come up all the time and these like little arguments come up all the time. And when it comes to speakers coming in, you have to have enough interest from your attendees coming in. It has to be like more than 50%. And then we have the idea, if these people are not good on freedom, the ideas need to be presented and people need to hear them, and then they can challenge them afterwards. And then that's, that's kind of how it's done down in Acapulco, and it seems to work out every year. Just, most people just go on their merry way after they listen. Some people like it, some people don't, type of situation. As far as threats go, threats, on the other hand, are a little bit more touchy. At Anarcho-Poco, they have to directly threat inside the forum of Anarcho-Poco's forum, or they actually have to threat an individual who's going to be presenting, doing a presentation there or having a workshop or something like that. And
so just to clarify, Henza, what you're saying is Maj, by making a general threat to Twitter that wasn't specifically directed at any individuals or wasn't specifically within a Porcfest forum or chat room or something, that would not have qualified as a threat under Anarcho-Poco?
Actually, it kind of would have. It would have triggered the organizers to contact Maj to find out, be like, hey man, is this what you're seriously about? This is your thing. This is like your red line here. You can't cross it. We have him say his thing, and then if he's like, yeah, that's my red line, then it's like, well, sorry, we don't need you, and then we just boot him. And that's just usually how it works at Anarcho-Poco.
And this guy did double down. He said, yep.
Well, not when Dennis talked to him.
We don't know what he said when Dennis talked to him. Dennis hasn't said.
Dennis has said, correct me if I'm wrong here, Dennis, Maj tried to temper his statements by telling you that he was only referring to if somebody was reading sexual things to children without consent. Is that what he told you?
I don't think without consent was ever said.
What did he say to you, Dennis?
So I had to go down through every single step of what is it that you're saying here, and I went through very methodically, and I had to do this twice, which is like, the second time, and the second time I was rolling my eyes because I knew where this was going. I knew what was happening. We basically have two people virtue signaling, and for I'm sorry to get their side excited and all jammed up. So anyway, so he is.
Wait, you didn't answer the question. It's very simple. When he went to you to clarify, it's simple to state what he said. When he went to clarify to you, what did he say was different about what he tweeted?
So what I was talking about was, can Bonnie have an event on her property? Okay. Can she invite somebody who is wearing a dress? Can she invite a parent on there with a child? And can that person then read? Can I, so I went through all these things that have to do with the component. Now you're saying, well, I need some sort of general statement. I wasn't doing that. I was going through the details of what is it that she's specifically saying in terms of what might happen here within Porcfest. Okay?
And he said,
why were you analyzing Bonnie's actions and words instead of his?
I think he wanted to see what he was willing to do in those circumstances, right? You wanted to get, what are you going to do, Maj?
Okay. If there's a specific threat, that's it. There wasn't a specific threat. As a matter of fact, it was like, no, of course not. I wouldn't do that. No, I wouldn't do that. No.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure it wasn't victim blaming, and it wasn't, so that's all.
Okay.
Wait, I'm sorry. What's victim blaming?
No, I wanted to make sure that the reason you were analyzing Bonnie's tweets wasn't to engage in victim blaming, and it wasn't to engage in victim blaming, and that was why I asked the question. Why you were?
Because
I know that. I recognize that and said that.
She had trolled him.
Well, he had trolled first.
He didn't troll first. No, he didn't.
Oh, so Bonnie's saying there's going to be Bonnie's saying a statement on Twitter is trolling, but Madge saying I'm going to assault people, that's not trolling. I got it. They're both virtue signaling, but Madge wasn't trolling. He's in the clear.
Madge saying in general, Bonnie going after him and saying,
going after him.
Well, yep.
What a characterization.
You Madge better not come to Porcfest because there's tons of drag queen story hours.
Okay, well, Maj went after all of the drag queens doing story hours then. Right? He trolled all the drag queens doing story hours. I don't know how you can characterize this in a way that wasn't trolling on his part.
I said you might not want to go to Porcfest. It was a suggestion. I did not say you better not come to Porcfest.
Yes, I agree.
And for that matter, I would love to know how he felt if I said, man, I'm going to go lynch me a person. Oh, Maj is going to be at Porcfest? That's unrelated to what I said, but, put those two things together. How would he feel?
Porcfest.
How would he feel? He did. He literally said, by the way.
Bonnie who brought Porcfest.
Maj literally said,
well, he was already going to be at Porcfest.
When I'm going to be at Porcfest, it's my community. That's why I brought that up. So
No, that was after Bonnie.
It was after, but it doesn't matter.
It's immaterial. Like, how would he feel? How would you feel if I had said something so horrific? Right?
I already said, I think this wood chipper thing that's going around, that's going around like crazy, it makes me sick to my stomach. I go, what are you guys talking about? And it's like, it's this weird virtue. I don't understand what's going on.
It's not virtue signaling. Look around the United States today. Drag queens are literally being banned in states. Transitioning is being banned in states.
And these people are cheering it on.
Yeah, they're about to make DeSantis president, and he's going to reverse Biden's transgender policies for people in prison. And they're going to throw me directly into a men's prison because of that. They're trolling. Their virtue signaling on Twitter is having real world impacts, and it's really fucking with the lives of people like me who are just trying to live peacefully.
Yeah, I think it sucks to be in the position that you are, Dennis, because you are with us on these social issues. Right. Like, you personally came from a side that can empathize, and you do, and I appreciate that. And that's why I know this has to be hard for you to have to talk to these people who, are like cheering on, Maj Tour for saying the things that he's saying, or worse, wood chipper, or go after Cody Wilson, or what, like, these people who purportedly are claiming to be libertarian but don't understand tolerance. And while we all understand that the non-aggression principle doesn't per se give us tolerance, right? Like, it doesn't require it. It's the most basic level of human interaction, and it's honestly not good enough for a good society in which to live. And I think we all agree on that. And I think that's the frustrating. But from me looking on the outside, trying to put myself in your shoes, that would be the most frustrating part about this, because you don't want to turn people away from the event. But on the other hand, maybe some of these people should be turned away from the event. I understand you probably can't say that. Maybe you personally would like to see that happen, but you're not willing to, say no.
Well, actually, one of my main suggestions coming out of my experiences, especially this year, I mean, we always have one or two dramas. I'm on number 12 this year.
Ouch.
So we went from 1 or 2 last year. The 5 years before, we have just a few, 12 major ones where people are going nuts, absolutely nuts. And I know, Bonnie, I have to apologize. I know that you took seriously when I used the word Karen. I was talking about all of them. It wasn't just you. I was talking about all of them. They're all kind of tweaking each other and getting each other, and then they're running to me and demanding this and demanding.
I think I'm a lot less of a Karen than that. I mean, you said you have to apologize and then continue to call me a Karen. You're just saying I'm just as much of a Karen as other people, but I don't think it's being a Karen to not want a violent someone to.
Well, of course, I don't either. I don't want it either. What do you mean?
I said I don't think it makes me a Karen to not want somebody who threatens violence to be at Porcfest.
Right, and it doesn't make. Yeah, and of course, it doesn't make them.
Can I ask a very hard question?
Go ahead, Henza.
So at Anarchapulco, a few years ago, I had a guy threaten me and my friend, and it ended up in bloodshed. I lost my friend's life. I was shot 3 times. Dennis, you're absolutely sure this guy is not going to show up and cause any issues, right? And if you're totally sure, then I'm good with whatever you have to say, man, and I'll be there this year.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So, I urged him to come onto Free Talk Live and to talk this out. Now
we'd still love that, by the way.
Yeah, it's still open invitation.
Yeah, and I think that would be absolutely fantastic. And,
I think it'd be a great episode.
It would be a great episode, and the trouble is that he is working. Look, I don't make money from this. You have an audience.
No, it's a hard job, man. I've got complete.
No. But what I'm saying is that Free Talk Live has an audience, and you make postures there that support the work that you do. He makes postures that supports the work that he does, and I wish we could just clean this up. And I don't know what to do, but let me just finish what I was going to say. One of my main recommendations is I don't know that we can do Big Ten anymore. I think we've grown too big and we are too siloed. We're too siloed during the regular year. And the people, it's just really hard for you guys to get together. I don't know why. I would like you to get together. I'd like you to stop poking each other. But for some reason, it's just getting too hard. So what if we had kind of a conservative Porcfest and a liberal Porcfest, and one is
one would suck.
Attracts those types of people, and the other attracts these types of people.
Why not just have a Freedom Porcfest?
We grow that way.
Or we just have a Freedom Porcfest.
I don't
and
think
when these people come along and say, "Oh, well, I don't like what these people are doing in Freedom," then just say, "Don't come," instead of giving them their own festival.
So to that,
I don't think that he answered Hens's question, because how can he know that Maj Tour is not going to come and do violence against people?
Well, you can
but
never
at the same
know.
time, he said earlier that he doesn't know Maj very well. He's not part of my in-group.
You can
I
never
don't know him very
for
well.
sure, but he did have a conversation with him, and apparently Maj said he would not attack
very
somebody.
Detailed, very specific conversation, not a tweet. You keep going to the tweet as though you.
No, I don't want to come back to the. I don't want to come back to the
that's
tweets.
kind
I
of the problem,
focus
though.
on
What someone says privately to an event organizer, that's kind of immaterial to me. What they say publicly to their followers to make their followers and fan base more ravenous and more happy, that's the one that concerns me.
No doubt.
The public apology, the public drawing back of what he said would mean so much more.
Yeah, he hasn't done that. And I think that's the problem, and he's not willing to have a conversation about it. We're willing to have that conversation with him, and I think you've seen tonight, Dennis, we're certainly willing to have an extended one. But to the point that you just made about, siloing or different types of Porcfests, if it were me, and again, it's not, but since we're here talking, and you threw the idea out, I would say the way to accomplish that would be to decentralize the event even further, right? It was a big success, as you pointed out, and I agree, to decentralize the event to where there's all these hubs and people can do all kinds of things on the campground. It's actually making it harder to attract people to the pavilion. You could just say, look, we're going to walk away, we being the official organizers, we're going to walk away from organizing the pavilion. And we're just going to leave that in that. We're going to walk away from the tents in the bowl. We're going to walk away from all that, and we're just gonna,
rent porta potties or
we're
whatever.
gonna rent the porta potties. We're gonna sell tickets, and what that gets you, I don't really know. But you can figure out something, and then let somebody come in. Maybe the conservatives are going to come in with their big conservative donors, or Reason.com, or the Beltway people, and let them come to Rogers and say, we want to rent that pavilion for $7,000 for the whole week, and then let them, schedule whatever kind of curriculum that they want to there. And it's just whatever happens. Let the market decide on this. I don't know how that would work out.
Yeah, and we do that with the tents, right? So we've really decentralized the tents.
Is that the tents in the bowl? Is that what you're talking about?
Yep.
What does that mean
So
when you say you've decentralized them?
Well, so those are hubs. Those are just hubs that we don't control. Those are hubs there are 3 hubs there: Goldback, Brownstone, and Homeland.
Okay, so is that the sponsors? The main sponsors get to set those up?
No, they're not sponsors. They rent those tents.
Oh,
So
I gotcha.
Goldback is renting the tent specifically, is what you're saying.
Yeah, they're renting the tent. Now they're renting it from us because we rent the whole place.
I see.
Right?
I see.
But and they control that.
Mm-hmm.
They control that space. We're not going to control. Now we will suggest people and we'll say, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? Sometimes they say yes. Sometimes they say no. Or they, both Brownstone and Goldback don't really have the right format for a lot of the people that we'd like to see over there. I like your idea, actually. I think that what I'm trying to do is a little bit like that, except that it's more here's this segment takes it for this moment, this thing. What they're paying for isn't dollars, but it's attendance, right? So this segment brings this, and actually the biggest cost is getting those speakers there. The time and trouble and energy to actually go and work and do that.
Which also shouldn't be on your hands.
You wouldn't have to pay them if you just didn't allow politicians there.
Well, if you step back from that, you let the people who want to rent the pavilion, then they got to figure all that out.
Well, literally everyone attending the festival just about would be happy to get up on stage and talk for 30 minutes.
Oh yeah,
a lot of them would.
I have so many people who go ahead and they just schedule themselves in the pavilion, and so I have to keep going through and go, okay, this person just scheduled himself for noon on Saturday at the pavilion. And so I have to go in. I go, okay, now you do realize that I own that pavilion. You have to come to me. Well, why? How do you get to own that? What? Yeah, and oh my God!
See, that's again the thing.
I have to go through this. I have to go through this argument over and over again.
You keep saying that you own the pavilion, but you're not taking responsibility or ownership of the content that's getting produced in the pavilion.
Yeah, so it's more of a pass through. It's more of a pass through. The way I'm running it is more of a pass. It's kind of like Ian's thing, except that as opposed to the conservatives taking over the entire thing for the entire
What
week,
is Ian's thing? Oh, okay, got it.
They, instead of taking it over for the entire week, they take it over for this event, and then this other group takes it over for that event, and this other group. And how do they pay for it? They pay for it by bringing in somebody that's exciting, that a lot of attendees want to come and see. And that's kind of, that to me is great pay. That's how we got in the past, people like Tom Woods and Dave Smith and all these people, that we had hubs who went into the trouble of bringing those people in. Now, you brought me one man. He only wanted Saturday. Only Saturday. He's coming in late. He only wants Saturday, and he's making demands on it. And I'm going, well, I don't think that you can actually fill that. Now, I went ahead and did my due diligence. The answer is no. He's not going to fill it. People don't want to see him. It would be.
You're talking about Aaron Day.
Empty.
You're talking about
It would
Aaron
be
Day.
one of those. Yeah.
How can that even be? And by the way, I didn't bring him to you. I just tagged him in something. But how could it be that the Free Stater, the actual porcupine who's running for president as a Republican, would not be able to bring an audience down to the pavilion at the Free Stater event.
Yeah, this is insane. I mean, the reason that he won't be able to fill the pavilion is because no one will let him fill the pavilion. Dennis, the argument you just made is almost exactly the same argument saying, well, I would vote for Ron Paul, but he's never going to win, so I guess I'm voting for whoever was running against him. It's like, because he won't win. It's a self-defeating argument. Because he won't fill the pavilion, we won't give him the opportunity to build a crowd and build a following by allowing him to speak at the pavilion.
Right. That's exactly right. So yeah. So I'm not in the business of making people into giving people fame. That's what he wants. That's what Aaron wants. He hasn't done the work in the Free State. He doesn't come out to the events. People don't know him.
Well, okay,
OGs
not
know
fair.
him.
Yeah,
OGs know him.
I mean,
OGs know him.
Just to be
people,
fair, Dennis, I mean, you don't know him because you're, like you said, you're newer.
That's not true. I know him from the old days.
But you've never. Did you meet him back then?
Yeah, I met him. I mean, he doesn't know me, but I know of him. Yeah,
he used to be a really fat guy. He's run for things here in New Hampshire. He's run for office, local office. He got the haters, the leftist haters. They bought 10,000 hate flyers that they mailed out about him. And I think he was also running with previous Free State Project president Matt Phillips. They attacked them both in the town in which they live. He's definitely made his mark, I think, on the community. But he took time away because he wanted to focus on himself. And that's something that everybody has an absolute right to do. He lost, I think, 150 pounds. It's kind of very similar turnaround to Daryl Perry. If you may recall, Daryl was a very, very large man who spent a lot of time doing a lot of exercising, and he managed to drop 150 pounds. And Aaron Day has done the same thing. He's completely transformed himself personally. Now, as far as whatever disagreements he may have with whatever time, I think there was some miscommunication.
Saturday at noon's a big
I'll
ask.
say that I was completely wrong to jump to so many conclusions publicly. I should have talked to Dennis privately about it because
You have my phone number.
I didn't know everything about the situation.
Drives me crazy. You have my phone number. I'm available all the time. I take your calls at any time, and you're publicly raking me for something that is just absolutely false. Absolutely false.
Is this about Aaron Day? Because I don't.
It's about Aaron.
Okay.
Most of what I was saying was just about the fact that you're inviting RFK and Vivek Ramaswamy and all those people to Porcfest, which I still stand by. But I shouldn't have said anything about the situation between you and Aaron that no one knows except you and Aaron.
Which seems like probably a miscommunication from the communications that I saw between the two of you guys, and I hope it can still get worked out. I mean, is he off the list, or is he still up in the air? I mean, what's the status with him?
I gave him the option of I gave him a slot, which it was like one of my last slots. He said no, and then I gave it to someone else. Then he came back, and the next day he said, "Well, I'll take it." I said, now what do I do? Right? What do I do with this? So now there's movement. There's always movement. Okay. And so I'm like waiting and that type of stuff. Well, of course he goes running to you and you guys start castigating me all through public. I'll go, what the fuck?
I mean,
man?
It was one, I wouldn't say all through public. It was one person who no one follows that I commented on his thing. He's one of my pet trolls.
I didn't even know this had happened.
Exactly.
I specifically said I was going to wait. I told Bonnie you might want to hold off on.
Well, after I said it.
Anyway,
this is the first time hearing about this whole thing.
Given the first issue, I said I was going to wait until we could confirm or deny or whatever, because there definitely seems to be some miscommunications.
Here's my point. My point is that that's not how I'm using the pavilion. The pavilion that I control, which I use the word own. The pavilion that I use is not to make Aaron Day great. What I use that for is that if Aaron can bring a large audience down, you can have Aaron on FTL. This is what I don't understand.
We have
him on FTL.
We did.
Right? He's going to get 30, 40, maybe even 50 people, and it's going to feel full. And all of a sudden, people are going to walk by and they're going to go, oh, shoot, what's happening here? Oh, this is Aaron Day. He's running for president. Now, all of a sudden, that generates something. But putting him in on a Saturday on the pavilion where he's going to pull in. He's not going to draw down from the thing, and it's going to be the sad thing.
Dennis, I'll give it to you that time slot. That's a big ask, and we're like Saturday at noon. That's top tier.
It was fucking insane, and he was raking me across the coals.
Isn't one of the main points
for not giving it to him because Ian said this and Ian said, I go, what the?
But you don't want to lift him up, right?
And it was all filled up already.
Dennis, we're past that. You don't want to lift him up, right? Yeah. But isn't
it's not that I don't want to lift him up. That's not my job. My job is to provide something for attendees.
Right. But isn't the whole fucking point of Porcfest to lift up and inspire libertarians to move here?
How does what's that? With
Carla said it was on.
Isn't the whole point of Porcfest and the Free State Project to lift up libertarians, to bring them here, to give them a voice, to help them shine?
The primary goal of Porcfest is to bring potential builders here.
What better way to do it than to show what people are doing while they're here? I mean, you agreed with that at the beginning of the show.
We'll put you on stage.
I gave him a slot to do that. That would have been probably a little bit more than he deserved. Okay,
Okay, fair enough. I hadn't heard about that.
If only 30 OGs come down, no one's going to hear this anyway. He has the model of the OGs that the only thing that Porcfest is the bowl. That is an old model. It's no longer valid. Porcfest is the campground. Porcfest is that. Porcfest is that vibrant energy of 120 different hubs doing different things and people engaging and all that type of stuff. Now,
I just don't
at some point you have something really big and it sucks them down. I'm sorry?
I don't like the idea of gatekeeping on popularity.
I don't even know how to be possible to know.
It's gatekeeping on size,
yes, you're just rewording popularity.
But it's your estimation. I mean, it's your belief about what this guy's going to bring.
No one's ever going to draw a crowd if you don't put him on a stage. That's a fact.
I offered him a stage.
I know. I know. My dispute is not with Aaron Day. I had nothing to do with that. I'm just saying I was under the impression that one of the main points of Porcfest was to lift up libertarians and inspire them and say, hey, look, we're coming here, we're doing this thing, we're great, we're working together.
Let's say there wasn't this miscommunication, because if you believe what Aaron says, and I don't know what the truth is, you guys had a conversation on the phone, so there's no record of it. We don't know how that went. But if you believe what he says, he initially said he would think about the Wednesday night offer, and then by Thursday...
That is total bullshit, and I'm calling him a liar if he said that to you.
By Thursday morning, he had made the decision to accept your offer, and he tried to contact you and couldn't reach you, and then it went to Lynn Ulbricht instead or something like that. That was my understanding. I may not be recollecting it perfectly. And let's just put that aside. Let's say y'all didn't have whatever the miscommunication. Maybe he's lying. Maybe he's not. I don't know. Let's say
I had that on speakerphone. Carol was sitting here. She was shocked at how he was speaking to me. He was just being an arrogant asshole, and she was just shocked because she hears me talk to lots and lots of people. I talk to him all day long, and this was like this like I deserve this total entitlement thing. Said,
that's hard. I don't know if he had a bad day. I don't know the guy, honestly. I don't know him very well.
But he never said I will think about it.
Okay.
He said no. That he wanted me to. He said if Saturday opens up.
Mm-hmm.
I told him. I said at the time. I said, look, you cannot draw enough for Saturday. He didn't like that answer, but that's true. He does not draw enough for Saturday, and I wasn't going to put him on. I guess under some scenario, if I have absolutely no, Aaron just is not at that level.
I guess it's kind of like
it's not my fault though.
I understand why you don't want to do it, but I just want to ask. It's like draw enough of whom? Because it's just like. Do we want a bunch of Republicans there cheering on some Vivek Ramaswamy? Is that what you want? Because you could easily do that. You could easily get a bunch of Republicans there to cheer on any old Republican. It would be a lot easier than
I guess you could have a bunch of socialists cheering on him. I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
you could do that easier
that's
than
true.
libertarians too. Libertarians aren't popular.
Right. So we're throwing a libertarian thing. I'm asking libertarians to come with libertarian things. They bring me stuff, and and the stuff it's not going to fit in. It's not going to fit in my hub. All right. So let's is this something that's going to be big enough? I have to make a determination. You go, well, you don't have a poll. Okay, I don't have a poll. You're absolutely right. I make assessments. That's my job. So I have to make the assessment. I think I do a pretty damn good job of it. I'm trying to right size. I'm trying not to screw over the speaker. I don't think going there and looking like you're a total failure with 30 people in the pavilion, that sucks. 30 people in the FTL feels full.
No, I get what you're saying there.
I get that too, but it's kind of like maybe things just need to be the way they are until they naturally get bigger.
Well, and ultimately, Bonnie, they're not all going to be hits.
Run Porcfest.
They're not all going to be hits, right? Like even if you think that somebody's going to pull whatever they're going to pull, they aren't always. Yeah. So, for instance, I don't think I had.
I mean, Liberty Forum was pretty bad this year. I would look in there, and most of the time, most people wanted to be outside in the thing, and the speakers weren't as well attended, except for like Carla and Jeremy Kaufman. I was actually really disappointed. I mean, it doesn't matter though. That's the thing. It's
the people who are.
At least there wasn't some Republican up there with a whole giant group of people and every single speaking of
a bunch of wood chipper people in the audience.
A bunch of Maj Torres with a bunch of wood chipper people in the audience.
And I think that's
Torres
just
has talked at Liberty Forum before. And as a matter of fact, Maj Touré has given one of the best speeches ever at Liberty Forum. Really, really good speech.
Yeah, I think that's just basically the philosophy, a difference in philosophy of how an event is organized and what should be focused on the main stage. And I'm not here to try to convince
you.
The
job is open. The job is open. I'm telling you.
I literally do not.
Everybody knows. Everybody knows how to do it better than I do.
You don't have a replacement.
I've doubled the size. If you know how to do it better, you can quadruple the size. And I think that'd be great. I really do.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it. I don't have the strength or constitution to put up with it. I absolutely could not
do you have somebody who's like, knocking on the door to come in and replace you, or is that still do you have an
I think what they're going to do is they're going to go back to the bowl idea. And I don't like that.
And what does that mean? What is the bull? Just recap what that is.
The bull idea is that they're not really going to support the hubs. I was really trying to decentralize this and to push this out and to have, we went every year we've been doubling the number of hubs out there and really getting that energy. That's really what I want. And I want that to reflect our libertarian homeland movement. I want all the different activities that are happening here to be reflected during that week. That would be absolutely fantastic. That would be like an ideal Porcfest for me.
Yeah, that's a beautiful sentiment. That I would love to see that. Right, and I think Porcfest has certainly moved a lot toward that versus what it was 5 years ago when pork rangers were crying because they didn't have jurisdiction to tell someone to get out of their way when they tried to run them over with the golf cart or whatever the fuck they were doing. They were once way out of control. Porcfest has improved substantially, and you've certainly been hugely responsible for that, and it's been great. Like I said last year doing the Soapbox Idol, you put together two of the best and most well-attended Porcfests that we've seen. And kudos for that.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely deserves a lot of appreciation.
And it's a long process. This has been a very hard thing to do. And, I wish I were younger. I wish I had more energy. I wish I could follow through. Because I really do think that there's something that's really fantastic. And frankly, I like the big tent. I'm an old school libertarian. I'm an old live and let live libertarian. It makes me so nervous, though, to see the squabbling and the hatred, and I don't like it. I'm very worried about it. It's not just us. of course, we're getting buffeted from the Republicans and Democrats hating each other so much, the progressives and the woke battles and all this type of stuff. Oh my
Oh,
God.
Henza's still there. I just realized. Henza, any other comments, Henza?
Yeah, man. Did you say that you don't get paid for this event?
No, as a matter of fact, it cost me money out of my own pocket. So I not only am working thousands of hours. I started this in July. Now, Porcfest used to be, it started in March. And I pushed this back because I wanted to be really big. I wanted to really support people. I mean, most of my job is cajoling people. Most of my job is telling people, hey, why don't you put this on Porcfest? Oh, I couldn't do that. Oh, yes, you could. What if you do this? What if you do that? And kind of inspiring them and cajoling them and motivating them. Entrepreneurship is something that is very rare. I'm trying to pull out the entrepreneurship in all of us and get them to do it. And one of my excitements is to watch these things spit out into our community afterwards. I think it's absolutely great that they get an experience. They see who's really interested. They get an experience of that, and then they go, yeah, maybe I'm going to do this all the time. So that's actually my secondary thing. You said elevating libertarians. My number one is bringing more people who are interested in moving here and getting them to actually consider it for real. Okay, so that was resegmenting and then really giving them an experience. The second, though, is not elevating an errand day. It is all these different hubs and letting them actually experience what it is that in their passion area, actually providing that as a hub. And we've seen restaurants pull off. And I mean, there's one hub. I'm not going to say who, but there's one hub that I think it will actually evolve into a restaurant coming up. I'm very excited about it. I'm curious. There's other hubs that are going to be really interesting.
Henza, thanks for the call tonight, man. I appreciate it.
All right, see you guys soon.
All right, Dennis, I think we're about at the end of this, but if there's something else you wanted to say tonight that you felt like you didn't have a chance to address or something that you wanted to get out, now would be that chance.
Well, there's just so many things, so many little aspects of this. I think that I really like the decentralized format. I like giving the power back to the community to actually create this thing. I disagree with Porcfest. I disagree that that role of motivator, of cajoler, of coordinator, of getting people up on the map. I mean, people now are very upset because I have a map. I go, you don't have to be on the map. We have people who do old school, but they go, oh, you're bringing this map and it's all central. I go, no, this is an option.
There's always been a map. There's always been a map of Porcfest.
There's been an app of not of these hubs, of these venues and that type of thing.
Didn't Johnson used to do that?
Johnson did a map a long time ago.
Of vendors. Of the vendors along Agora.
But I think you're right. I mean, it's good to have these things that people want to do their own thing. They're still free to do their own thing. I think things have largely gone in a better direction. It's just that as somebody who does value what Bonnie was talking about, bringing the right people here, the people who are libertarians, the people who understand the ideas of liberty, I think it muddles the water to have people like RFK and Vivek being featured speakers at a libertarian event.
Bring them.
I think that's the problem.
Them. I think you need to bring them. So the people, the person I brought, the person that was the one I really pushed for.
Who's that?
Because everyone else is more somebody who is brought to me or volunteer. Larkin Rose.
Oh, okay. Is he ever going to move?
I don't think he's ever going to move.
That's a shame.
But I was upset with the loss of both Larkin and Stefan. I actually got both of them this year.
Stefan Molyneux?
This year. Yep, I had Stefan Molyneux.
Oh,
isn't he a racist?
He dropped out. He dropped out. Yeah. Right. So that's exactly right. So
He's basically
people
Chris
get upset.
Cantwell light.
Yeah.
Well, that's what people say.
Well, I mean,
But,
he is literally a racist, though.
He's gone in a race, as I understand it, in a quote unquote race realist level, which is like what Chris Cantwell follow. Cantwell actually is a follower of Molyneux, so whatever Molyneux has done, Cantwell has done to a further extreme.
You tried to
And
get a
Cantwell
racist there?
is banned from Porcfest permanently.
Think you're saying you didn't know Molyneux was a racist, Dennis?
Well, I disagree with you. I disagree with your conclusion.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Huh. All right. I'll have to review, but I'm pretty sure he's been touting the whole race realism thing for years. I mean, he didn't used to be. He used to be a very principled libertarian anarchist who we've interviewed from Porcfest in past years back, when he didn't go in the direction that he did. But yeah.
Yeah, talk about a controversial figure.
Definitely.
But anyway, so he was actually scheduled there for a moment, and that didn't work out.
Well, thank God for that.
Yeah, probably the best in that case.
But I mean, I don't see
Let's
why you
just
guys
get
don't bring your
Alex
people.
Jones next.
You know?
We bring our people. Wait,
Okay, whom did you bring to the stage? Whom was that?
no
Ian
one
was there
asked to
last
be
year?
on the stage this year, as far as
Oh,
I know.
this
But I
year.
was on there the year before. Ian was on there this year. We're running an entire hub.
No, I brought you
We-
guys there.
We do
We
it
didn't bring you.
nationally. Oh, well,
He's talking about who do we bring to him to speak on the main stage.
Right.
that's not the point.
Hey, I don't think it's
Right.
the point.
No,
because
no,
you bringing
Porcfest
bad
either
people.
is the main stage or we're bringing people to Porcfest. It's one or the other. So what is it? Is Porcfest the main stage, or are we bringing people to Porcfest?
I literally
you were
brought
saying-
people to make their own hub, and they're going to be tabling there for the Libertarian Policy Alliance this year.
Yeah, I just want
3
people
different
to
people from
attend
3
the
different
I'm
event.
excited about that.
Yeah,
I'm
I
excited
just want
about
people
that.
to attend the event. I don't have a bunch of stars, right? Like I don't have people in a little black book that I can call up. We don't have guests on this show regularly. You're one of the first in some amount of time. Well, I guess we did have the Dash guy last week, but besides that, we rarely
Jay
have guests on
Noon,
the show.
right?
I mean, 3 years ago,
Jay's a co-host. He's here every week.
3 years ago, we ran an entire competing festival of people that we brought to Rogers Campground. So this whole, who did you bring? That's a crazy
no,
ass
he's
question.
specifically
to us.
asking about speakers.
Yes,
when
I
he
know,
says
but I
that.
don't know why he's fixating on that as though we don't do nothing, as though
Because
Porcfest
you were
is just
saying-
the pavilion.
No, because you were saying that you wanted people in the pavilion that reflect more like you. I'm going, bring them.
Well, I didn't
Bring
say
them.
that, but okay.
No, I would
Well,
say
right,
I
I
would
don't-
say that. And I would say that it's not. I get what you're pointing out here, but ultimately, I'm not the organizer, and that's why ultimately I've said, look, I still support the event. I understand it's a hard job to do, but if it were me, then I would just leave those slots blank, and I would say, hey, anybody in the community who wants to speak on the main stage, we still have these spots available. If you are a doer, if you're a known quantity out there, then we want to get you up there and we want to speak. I don't care if it's 30 or 40 people in the audience or 50 people or 75 or whoever comes. To me, it's about focusing on the community, the porcupines, the liberty activists. Those, if it were me, those would be the stars of the show. And if Vivek Ramaswamy wanted to speak, then he can have the stage down by the dumpster. I think there's a few pallets down there, and maybe he can speak to the bears. And same thing with RFK, because to me, politicians are trash, and we shouldn't be giving them any more attention than they deserve, which is near to zero. But that's just how I feel about it. But like I said, I'm not trying to persuade you to change your mind. You're doing your thing, and I think overall the event's going to be great. I think people are going to have a blast, and I hope that it never has come across, Dennis, that I've been anything but supportive overall of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on to the show here tonight to talk to us. The event has not yet sold out, so if you're still listening to this and you want to grab a ticket, they are available at porcfest.com. There's a few hundred left? What are we talking about here?
Oh yeah, no, we're not going to sell out this year.
Okay, all right.
We pushed the number of tickets. Yeah, we pushed the number of tickets high enough. That
It was you
we
pushed it to
won't sell
what, like 3,000 this year or something?
We pushed it to 3,000.
Yeah, so it's still going to be a big event.
Because I mean, we had trouble at 25, then we had trouble at 27.50. I mean, I think we're going to sell less tickets than we did last year, about the same number of tickets we did 2 years ago, but we're going to have higher attendance.
Okay.
More people are more serious about coming. When we sold the other tickets, we had fairly low prices, and people just didn't show up and stuff like that. But I think we're going to have higher attendance than we've had either the last 2 years.
Dennis Pratt, anything else you want to share here tonight?
No, thank you very much for. I mean, I do want to say that I am truly thankful for the work that you guys do, and I know that it's. I hope that my irksome combativeness, is understood more as just tiredness, and
you got to be exhausted.
It's a hard thing to do.
No, I love you, Dennis. I'm looking forward to seeing you next week.
I really do appreciate everything that you guys do, and I am thankful every day that you've done the work that you've done to make the Free State something that I can walk into and actually start contributing. So
thank you, Dennis, for everything you bring to the table, and enjoy your sleep when you get to it tonight. This has been a very lengthy discussion here, going now for
thanks for staying on
4.5 hours. So we'll get this out a little bit later on tonight at freetalklive.com. Thanks, Dennis.
Bye-bye.
All right, that's it.
whoa, sorry, Coconut. And he is very crazy right now.
He's gonna go out.
He was like, normally 3 hours doesn't feel like that long. That felt like longer.
Really?
No, Coconut.
Coconut.
Yeah, because we went over. That's why I was joking. I think he was only chillaxing because we're still talking to the microphone, so he's like, wow, seems like it's been time. But now he's ready.
Thank you so much. Great episode.
Oh, do you have those keys?
Yes. Hold on.
If you don't. Oh, they're in the car?
Yeah. I put them there so I'll look
Oh. Oh, it's falling out. Oh, it hurts some of my hips. I always hold Coconut